What you reading now?
Well, I am reading from the collected writings and speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Really, really interesting, deep, profound stuff. Yep, I've been slowly wading through this book for a long time and just glad to have a little bit of time for some deep reading and reflection. I noticed you're reading something too there, Pastor Steve. What intellectual volume are you reading?
Oh, me? The the pigeon needs a bath. It's really deep.
Yeah, well, that sounds good too. Pigeons and baths and all, very, very good. Yep.
Oh yeah, it is. It's really thought provoking stuff here. But yeah, well, we could talk about my book some other time. I want to hear more about yours, Al. I mean, that looks like pretty hefty stuff. There's a lot in there. I mean, how did you know what it was going to be like? And is it what you expected? That's a lot of words to read in there. I mean, like. I like to pride myself on being able to master a first grade level book, but that looks pretty dense.
Well, yeah, it is pretty dense sometimes. A lot to think about here. But if you were wondering how I knew what to expect in this book, well, even though it's all that writing, all them pages, well, that's because this book here has what you call a table of contents. Maybe your book about your pigeon who needs a bath is not long enough to have a table of contents, but this one does. See, a table of contents sort of lays out the beginning of the book. Here's all the stuff that's going to be in this book, and you just take a look at that, and that will sort of tell you what else will be covered in the book, what matters in this book. That makes sense there, Pastor Steve. Have you ever read a book that was long enough to have a table of contents in it?
Well, yeah, I mean, my book doesn't really have one of those table of contents, Al, but I've heard of books that are that big that would have a table of contents. And it looks like it would be useful, so you could, tell what was going to be in the book as you just start reading it. I hope one day to be a good enough reader to, be able to read a book like that.
Oh yeah, a table of contents is real useful. Sure, helps you know if what's going to be in the book is what you were hoping for. I tell you, as soon as I took a look at the table of contents here and saw what was going to be covered in this book, I was drawn right in. I knew I was going to want to keep reading more and was all excited about it. In fact, this has got me thinking about. You know what this has got me thinking about?
Well, honestly, I have no idea how or why you're going to make this connection, but I have a suspicion this is going to remind you somehow of Jesus. You're like that, Al.
Yep, right you are there, Pastor Steve. It turns out, now that I think about it, this reminds me of the story of Jesus we're going to hear today in church.
Okay, I've got to hear what you're thinking about, Al, because I know there's no story in the Bible where Jesus gets out a book and looks at the table of contents. In fact, they didn't have books like we think of with tables of contents in them back then. They had scrolls and things. So help me please understand how you reading that big, thick book has anything to do with Jesus and our lesson for today.
Oh, well, sure, Pastor Steve. Let me explain it to you. I'll try to keep it at a pace that you'll understand. See, today we're going to hear the story about Jesus' first time speaking in public. He went to the synagogue, to the place where people went to praise and worship God and pray and read from the scriptures. And this was the first time that Jesus did it. So it was sort of like Jesus' first impression, I guess.
Okay, I got it. So this is the story we're going to hear is about Jesus. He's a grown up, and he goes back to his hometown, to the place that the people of God would have shown up to hear about God. He goes, and this is the first time he shows up in public as a grown up, as an adult, and so this is his first chance to get to, I guess, talk to them. And that's the scene for the story.
Right, right. You get it, Pastor Steve. Right. So Jesus is there. It's his first time, at least that we know of, that he goes to the synagogue in his own hometown in Nazareth, and he gets up and he reads, and then he sort of tells them what God's up to.
Oh, yeah, I do know this story, right. So this is the story where Jesus, he gets the scroll of the prophet Isaiah, and he reads from this scroll, and he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because God has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, and to announce release for the captives, and to give the sight back to the blind, and to let the oppressed go free, and to announce the year of the Lord's favor." Something like that, right?
Right, right. You got it, Pastor Steve. Yeah. Every so often, you show me you've done a little bit of reading. Yeah. Well, so Jesus announces he's reading, like you said, from a book in what we would call the Old Testament. Jesus would have just called it the Bible, but from the book of Isaiah. And Jesus says, "This is what God has sent me to do." And he sort of gives a list, almost like a table of contents of, "This is what I've come to do. These are the things that are coming in the rest of the story. To announce good news for the poor, and recovery of sight to the blind, and setting people free, and announcing the year of God's favor." So before any of that happens, Jesus says, "This is what I've come for. If you want to be a part of what I'm up to, this is the agenda. This is the table of contents for Jesus' ministry," you could say.
Okay, I get it. So Jesus tells the people in advance, reading from the Bible, but telling everybody, this is what I've come for. I've come to help set people free and heal people and bring good news to the people who need it, and to announce God's favor on people. Is that what you're saying? From the beginning, Jesus sort of says, this is what I'm all about?
Right, you got it. So, kind of like the table of contents in my book here tells me what things are going to be coming up in it, and there's still a lot more to read after the table of contents. That just says what's coming. A lot more is coming in Jesus' ministry and his life, and lots of people that he'll heal and help and set free and bring good news to. But it starts with Jesus sort of saying, "This is what I'm going to be doing, and you get to be a part of it, even starting today, right here, right now." It's sort of like the table of contents of Jesus' whole ministry.
Well, that's cool. So for us who are followers of Jesus, learning how to be followers of Jesus too, if we listen in, then we'll get a sense of, this is what it looks like. This is what it will mean to be followers of Jesus too. If we want to be a part of the adventure, if we want to be a part of Jesus' story, we should be ready for healing the people who are in need of healing, and setting people free, and bringing good news to the people who need it. That's sort of what we're going to be about too then, right? If Jesus has laid out at the beginning, here's what I'm about, everybody, then we shouldn't be surprised if Jesus leads you and me to be a part of helping other people and healing people and setting people free when they feel like they're burdened with things, and bringing good news to the people who feel like they're stepped on and on the bottom, huh?
Exactly, right. So just like at the start of a really big book, you know there's a lot more to come, but the table of contents tells you this is what's going to be covered. Jesus tells us the same thing. And really, it's not just what Jesus did a long time ago. This is maybe a glimpse of where Jesus is going to lead us today, where we're in our lives too. If we're going to follow after Jesus, we should be ready for this kind of stuff to happen too. Healing of people who need it, and helping people who were stepped on, and bringing good news and announcing God's love and favor everywhere we go. This is what it's all about, Pastor Steve.
Cool. I'm looking forward to finding out more and being a part of the adventure, getting to hear more of the story. I bet you wanted to read right now, huh? I'll just let you get back to that, and I'll work on mine.
Well, yeah, if you're done, making small talk, yeah, I was hoping to get back to my reading. There's a lot more to go. Yep. But I'll let you read your very fascinating book too.
The pigeon.